In fact, people have been able to get certain stem cells to go into certain differentiated properties. Okay? But it is also political controversy. Now, another kind of experiment that's done is called somatic cell nuclear transfer. And that is, and this has worked in sheep and in primates. For obvious reasons, we'll tell you in a second. It should be obvious why it has not been done in humans. You can take a primary oocyte, and you take out, you enucleate them. You enucleate the cells. You take out the nucleus. So here's the nucleus, the primary oocyte nucleus. You then give it a nucleus, a diploid nucleus. Okay, it's like a skin cell nucleus, which has been done in primates. You now have a diploid zygote-like cell, and you can get it to develop. Have you heard of a few years ago Dolly the sheep that they did by in vitro production? What they did was somatic cell nuclear transfer. They took a sheep primary oocyte, took out the nucleus, gave it a diploid, it was skin or something, some fibroblast nucleus, forget where the actual diploid nucleus came from, and they actually got Dolly the sheep out of it. So in sheep, it clearly works. You can see the obvious ethical issues that will come up dealing with humans. Okay? But it does work in a complex mammal such as Dolly the sheep. Okay? Now, what people do to try to get around some of these ethical issues is, for example, you can take a, let me see what I have it up here, like an 8-cell stage marula. What you can do is, say somebody's in vitro going to freeze down a bunch of blastocysts for having kids, which is what they do. You can take the 8-cell marula or some part in here and take out one cell, and then get that to go into a blastocyst. So for every blastocyst that you keep frozen down for a kid, for a child, you keep one for experiments. And so the net number of people that might arise from this will be the same. But the thought is you can just take the cell out. And because the blastomeres are all the same up to the 8-cell stage. So you can take one out, and you don't lose anything in terms of forming a blastocyst. Okay? Yes? That's an interesting point. You keep one out, you keep taking one out. Depends how far you want to think about the controversy. My own personal point of view, there is no controversy. Life does not begin until the baby can breathe on its own, in my humble opinion. But that's just my point of view. A lot of people freeze down placentas because a lot of stem cells in placentas for exactly this reason. Everybody has their own point of view. It's important to know the facts as you kind of think about this. Those of you going into medicine will see this firsthand. It's more so now than ever. Yes? There's no effect. What's the effect of having 7 cells? Another one divides, and it keeps going. The cells are indistinguishable. Because if that didn't work, you'd never have identical twins. Identical twins can form into 2, 4, or 8-cell stage. So one is taking advantage of the normal situation. Yes? Kristen, is that right? Yeah, I don't know the status of that. If you can take 2 haploid ovum nuclei and get a person out. I guess in theory it's possible. Certainly in science fiction movies it's possible. But the point is, it's theoretically possible. I see what you're saying. I don't know what the current status of it working for real. The enucleation? It's possible. It's possible. I don't know what the status is for humans. I don't think the problem about doing this, by the way, they found is getting aneuploidism. So sometimes when you do this diploid nucleus doesn't stay diploid. It tacks on a few extra chromosomes, which is what we don't want. So it's not quite always working. Okay? That's a very, very good question. There's a question here?
Yeah, could you technically artificially make
Oh, can you artificially make identical twins? Absolutely. Yeah, you can do it in vitro. It sounds like an exam question, right? You can take a zygote, let it go to the 8-cell stage in vitro, separate the 8 cells, let them grow to 8 more 8-cell stage marullas, put them into different people, and then have 8 identical twins. In this case, octuplets or something like that. Yes, you can do this in vitro. Okay? Those of you that are budding science fiction writers, you can see this is the right area for this kind of stuff, particularly putting in genes during the stage, right? Okay. Taking out the enucleating is taking out the nucleus, right? Enucleate. Okay. And the last point is I think related to your question back there, and that is you can also do what's called reprogramming. So what some people have done also is taking, for example, skin cells. This has been done in mice, and you reprogram them. And you put in a bunch of genes. There's a bunch of transcription factors. I think SOX2 is one of them, OCT3, 4, you don't need to know this. But you throw in some genes, and you can get ES cell-like cells, or embryonic stem cell-like cells, which can form a blastocyst. Okay, again, this is done in mice. In a mouse, has not been done in a human, but that's another direction to go. Reprogram adult cells, which would be a good thing. So say you need some tissues, some differentiated tissues. And I say you need it. You'd be more than happy to give out a few skin cells to get them to differentiate, reprogram into stem cells. Then you can put it back into, say, a nerve cell or a muscle cell or whatever. So most people would be more than happy to do that, and that's improving your life quality. So that's why this is a very interesting area also, reprogramming. That's another big issue. Okay? So understanding this all comes from understanding fertilization through the blastocyst. Very important. Any other questions? We'll go on to the next related topic. Okay. Pardon? Where? No, reprogram. So, yeah, somatic cell nuclear transfer. Oh, develop. As you go from the diploid zygote, you want it to develop into a certain cell type. Okay? All right. Also, in the reader, there's a whole bunch of information on there about exactly what I've just been discussing. So, after cleavage reactions, you have gastrulation. And we'll put gastrulation up here. So right now, all we talked about really is going to the blastocyst. But the next stage in development is gastrulation, which is making a 3-layered embryo. And in the human cells, what's going on is really involving the epiblast. And so here's a cross-section of an epiblast, a cross-section of a small amount of cells. Gastrulation involves cell movement and cell-cell contact. So what happens is the cells, you'll see across a whole area, start moving inward. And you get something called an invagination, which is moving inward. And you'll see a slightly bigger version of this in a second. So what happens is these cells start moving inward, and it keeps going. You can envision a structure like this as the cells keep moving inward. And once you start physically having this change, you have a change in the nature of the cells that are there. So the cells on the outside are called the ectoderm, which is one of the 3 layers of the embryo. And the way to think about ectoderm is skin. The skin comes from the ectoderm. Inside is the endoderm. And so one way to think about that would be gut cells, or intestinal, your digestive tract. you also have an area, let me just like this, right in between these, called the mesoderm. I think you had some of these concepts in the lab. Is that correct? Okay, good. And the mesoderm, and this is an example would be muscle cells. So just by the movement of the cells, you can form 3 layers because they end up in different places. Ecto, endo, mesoderm. Now, in mammalian cells, and humans in particular, what happens is the epiblast, I'll get to that, a structure that comes from the epiblast, I'll show you what that structure is in a second. So this is the structure from the epiblast. You form what's called a primitive streak. What happens is all the cells across this streak start invaginating inward. So this would be a cross-section here, what goes on this whole length of the streak. Interestingly, humans and mammals do this, as do birds. But nobody else does that. Okay, reptiles and things like that. But birds clearly do it. Frogs don't do it. Now what happens is, so this forms this layer, but there's a timing, as you can imagine, for this whole thing. So let's start with the blastocyst. And that forms about day 7 to 9, somewhere around there. It varies. One of the extraembryonic tissues is the trophoblast. It's around day 15 or so. I'll put this board down in a second. It becomes the chorion, which surrounds the embryo. So the trophoblast being outside the blastocyst becomes a chorion. Now the blastocyst then becomes the inner cell mass. And the inner cell mass has what becomes a hypoblast. As we talked about, I think it was Monday, it forms a yolk sac-like structure. Mammals don't have yolk, but it's evolutionarily there, which eventually becomes red blood cells, early red blood cells. Everything over to here, the hypoblast, the chorion, the trophoblast, are all extra embryonic in nature. Now the inner cell mass cells then becomes the embryo. I'll put this word down in a second. And this becomes, it's called the primitive ectoderm. And the primitive ectoderm, I'll move it over to this board here. The primitive ectoderm, 2 things happens to it. One is you form the regular ectoderm. And the other thing that happens is you form the primitive streak, which, due to gastrulation process we just talked about, becomes the endoderm and the mesoderm. This is all happening by around, that chart is running out here, around day 15 or so. So let's think about the order of events here. You have this blastocyst, and you form the trophoblast, which eventually forms a chorion, which surrounds the embryo. This is extra embryonic. These are not tissues that a pluripotent stem cell would ever produce. Only a totipotent stem cell would produce this. Blastocyst also has the inner cell mass. From the hypoblast, gives you a yolk sac-like a structure, gives you the early red blood cells. Circulation is the first thing that gets developed. And then also, you form from the inner cell mass the primitive ectoderm, which becomes the ectoderm, as well as the primitive streak. You get the endoderm and mesoderm. At the point in time, around day 15 or so, this is around 15 days, plus or minus, you have your 3-layered embryo, your mesoderm, your endoderm, and your ectoderm. Okay? This is in humans. This is what we're keeping this discussion with. Okay? Questions on gastrulation. I know in the lab you have much more gory details. I will not ask you gory details except for the one I put on this blackboard. Up here. Say it louder, please. They're not on the same outside layer. This is prior. So what happens is the cells that stay on top here become the ectoderm, and the cells that invaginate inward become the endoderm and the mesoderm across this whole primitive streak. Does that answer your question? No, it invaginates. Whatever's invaginating inward becomes the endoderm and the mesoderm. Picture it 3-dimensionally. Invaginating inward. Okay? Keep thinking about it. You got to see it 3-dimensionally. I know that's hard sometimes. Yes? Yeah, don't worry about it. Okay. The way I have in the reader, there might be an arrow or two not there. Just draw it in. Okay? Know what I say in the lecture. Use the reader to enhance your understanding. Okay? All right. So what this leads to is issues of organogenesis, which will be one of the next things that happens. And organogenesis is interesting in the sense that cell shape starts becoming an important role. We'll just do one example, which is forming rudimentary organs. So you have cell movement, cell interactions, you get movement, and here's where shape comes into play. And one of the shapes that takes place is something that's called wedging. And that is, here you have a cell, here's the cytoplasm, and it widens out. Okay? That can create rudimentary organs. I'll give you an example. Use this lecture hall. Say all you guys in this row right here, you're sitting in your chairs, right? What would happen if the constraint was the ends of the row stays the same location, but every chair now becomes 10 times in size? Say a nice easy chair in your parents' living room or something like that. I know in your probably your apartment you don't have room for it. Okay? What would happen if every chair became a nice big, 10 times bigger easy chair? What would happen to this row? If the constraint was the ends stay the same? Not less chairs. Chair numbers stay the same. That's a good answer to that. What would happen physically to the row if every chair in this row was 10 times wider, but the ends stayed the same? Oh, it would start bowing out, right? It would start bowing out. And that's what happens with wedging. So an example is in the neural tube formation. Here you have these cells, and it starts to wedge. So what happens is the cells start bowing outward, and this continues. So it continues to bow outward. And I'll put this up here. And this bowing out of the cells all occurs because the cell shape is changing. And that keeps going, and eventually it breaks off. It goes out so much that, from a physical standpoint, it's better to just break off. And you have this area that was bowing out, breaking off. You have some cells in the middle here. The cells that form this tubular-like structure is called the neural tube, which is a rudimentary organ. The cells in the middle here are called the neural crust cells. And these cells actually move, and they become bone developmentally. Okay? So the point is, what's forming the neural tube is not anything really mystical or anything like that. What it is the shape of the cells are wedging out, and they're flattening, and they're causing the structure to bow out, and eventually it breaks off, forming a tubular-like structure. And cell shape causes that. Does everybody see that from a physical standpoint? Now you have another issue in, let's hit this last little bit here, something called convergent cell extension, convergent cell extension. Now, what if we have the same row? Say we take rows 3 and 4, and your only constraint was the cell you stay where you are, okay, but the row behind you merges in, and every other seat becomes the row behind you. So third row, fourth row, third row, fourth row. But you can move the outside of the ends. What would be the physical change? If the third and fourth rows came together, what has to give here? What happens? It extends out, right? And that's what happens here. This is how you can change the shape of an organism. And one way to think about this, here you have 6 cells, and they start moving in towards each other. That's row 3, row 4, and eventually you get a longer row with more cells. Okay? Convergent cell extension. Convergent extension. So the point is, you're only changing the shape of this tissue by cell movements coming together. That's the main driving force. And this begins the issue of morphogenesis, which is the shape of the animal, final shape. Okay? And what's driving this is cell movement. What's driving wedging is cell shape change. So changing movement, changing shape can drive formation of organs and can drive what it looks like. So fairly straightforward concepts there, but it's a series of events that take place. Okay? All right, so office hours Thursday. Emails are accepted. And I'll give you more information on my part of the final Friday or Monday. So plenty of warning on it. Okay, have a good rest of your Wednesday.